GH, T3, T4, and cortisol. The other hormones have no effect on protein metabolism. That is why I have not mentioned them here. Starting with GH, it is a protein anabolic hormone. Also, it has a positive nitrogen and positive phosphorus balance. That means because of GH, the plasma phosphorus levels increase, but the other levels decrease. Now, which are the others? Blood urea nitrogen, that is BUN, and amino acid levels. So, plasma phosphorus levels increase, but BUN and amino acid levels decrease. Also, there is increased excretion of amino acids, specifically the amino acid 4-hydroxyproline. Now, this 4-hydroxyproline, it comes from another protein, collagen. So, 4-hydroxyproline, its excretion is increased in diseases of collagen. So, it is increased in two types of diseases. One, when there is increased collagen destruction, and second, when soluble collagen synthesis is increased. Also, GH increases RNA synthesis. It also increases protein synthesis. So it increases RNA synthesis, it also increases protein synthesis. But it inhibits protein and amino acid metabolism. It increases RNA synthesis, increases protein synthesis, and inhibits protein and amino acid metabolism. It also increases the transport of amino acids into cells. Now, which amino acids? Basic and neutral amino acids. Repeating again, GH is a protein anabolic hormone. Now, let's go to T3, T4. Yes, one GH function is remaining, that is, it also stimulates erythropoiesis. Now, let's go to T3, T4. T3, T4 has one important function, that is negative nitrogen balance. In GH, it was positive nitrogen balance. Here, if you see, there is positive nitrogen balance, whereas in T3, T4, it is negative nitrogen balance. What is the meaning of negative nitrogen balance and how the symptoms develop, that we will see. So basically, T3, T4 promotes proteolysis. Proteolysis is the breakdown of proteins, where in skeletal muscle. Because of that, there is amino acids which are released into the plasma. It also promotes protein turnover. By promoting proteolysis. It promotes protein turnover by promoting proteolysis. Now let us see what happens in hyperthyroid and hypothyroid. In hyperthyroid, there is increased breakdown of proteins. As it is proteolysis, there is increased breakdown. because there is increased breakdown. So more amount of sodium, more amount of sodium is excreted. Where? From the body. Also, more amount of nitrogen is excreted. More amount of nitrogen excreted, more amount of sodium excreted. Because sodium and nitrogen both are being excreted, there is negative nitrogen balance. Because of this, the muscles become thin and the subject decreases or loses weight. I'll repeat again. In hypothyroid, there is increased breakdown of the proteins. So, increased amount of potassium and nitrogen getting excreted from the urine. The subject becomes thin, the muscle becomes thin, and the subject loses weight. Now, let's see what happens in hypothyroid. In hypothyroid, growth increases only in the presence of GH. That means if a patient has hypothyroid, there will be growth only when there is presence of GH. And when the GH secretion is normal, therefore, the protein synthesis required for growth requires both GH and T3, T4. I repeat, the protein synthesis required for growth requires two hormones, that is GH and thyroid hormones. Now let's go to cortisol. Cortisol has an effect which again is negative nitrogen balance. Revising again, GH has positive nitrogen balance, T3, T4 has negative nitrogen balance, as well as cortisol also has negative nitrogen balance. So, what does cortisol do? It decreases the tissue protein levels. It does this in all organs except liver. That means in liver, the protein levels are not reduced. It also facilitates proteolysis. That means proteins are broken down, especially in skeletal muscle levels. Since the proteins are broken down, the plasma levels of amino acids increase. There is decreased protein synthesis in all organs except liver. How does it do that? It does it by inhibiting amino acid transport. I repeat, it decreases the tissue protein levels in all organs except liver. How it does that? By inhibiting amino acid transport. If amino acids are not transported only inside, so how proteins will be formed? So that is how it reduces protein levels. Also, amino acids are deaminated in liver. So the deamination takes place in the liver when during gluconeogenesis. It also activates an enzyme in the liver called transaminase. Now, this hepatic transaminase, that is the aminase which is present in the liver, it helps in two things. It helps in deamination and it helps in transamination. What is deamination? Deamination is removal of amino group. Removal of amino group which helps in glucose formation. What is transamination? Transamination is transfer of amino group which helps in amino acid synthesis. I repeat, deamination is removal of amino group which helps in glucose formation, and transamination means transfer of amino group, which helps in amino acid transport or amino acid synthesis. Overall, cortisol mobilizes muscle protein. That means it brings the muscle proteins from various organs. Why? Because the protein has to be used for gluconeogenesis. I repeat, cortisol brings proteins from all the organs of the body. Why? Not for breakdown, but to convert it into glycogen. So there is increased conversion of protein to glycogen. In the end, cortisol has an anti-anabolic effect. What is anti-anabolic effect? Ability of the cortisol to inhibit de novo synthesis of protein. I repeat, ability of cortisol to inhibit de novo synthesis of proteins. So this is protein metabolism of three hormones, GH, T3, T4, and cortisol in short